From no one bid on the last two alien girls, too soft, too wild, but a human saw their true beauty. The twin suns of Virex 9 burned red in the sky. Beneath them, crowds moved through the grand bazaar, shouting, trading, and fighting. Over prices, aliens from 100 worlds filled the dusty air with noise, color, and greed. In the center of it all stood a large metal stage, where the galaxy's last slave auction was about to end. A loud voice echoed through the speakers. "Final call, final sale," shouted the alien auctioneer, his 4 eyes scanning the restless crowd. "One last lot remains, 2 females, both rare, both unwanted." The crowd laughed, some even booed, in a metal cage behind the auctioneer. 2 alien girls sat quietly. One had soft silver skin and glowing blue eyes, her body weak and thin, her aura calm. The other had glowing red hair and sharp eyes like fire, her hands clenched, her spirit unbroken. They were opposites, one soft, one wild, but both shared the same fate, rejected, unchosen, forgotten. "No bids?" The auctioneer said, pretending to be surprised. "Come on, someone take them, cheap price. Maybe they clean your ship or make good pets." Laughter roared again. Then the crowd fell silent. A figure stepped forward from the edge of the market. Tall human, in a dark coat with dust on his boots. He walked like a man who didn't fear anything. "Another stupid human," someone whispered. "They think they own the stars." But this human didn't speak. He walked straight to the stage and stopped, looking up at the 2 girls. His name was Captain Jace Rowan. And he wasn't here to laugh. He wasn't here to buy slaves either. He was here for something else, something he wasn't even sure of yet. The soft girl met his eyes first. Her lips didn't move, but her gaze said everything. Help, the wild. One stared back too, but with a challenge in her face. "Do you dare?" The auctioneer laughed nervously. "You? Human? You want to bid on them?" No one else did, not even for scraps. Jace reached into his coat and pulled out a silver coin. It wasn't just money, it was a symbol, ancient and rare. The coin of Earth's lost exploration fleet. The auctioneer's voice caught in his throat. The crowd began to whisper, then shout. "What is that? Is that real? Why for them?" Jace placed the coin on the platform without a word. The machine scanned it and confirmed the value. It was worth more than all the other slaves combined. The auctioneer couldn't stop the sale now. He tried to joke, but his voice trembled. "Congratulations, human. You just bought 2 failures." Jace looked at the girls one more time. The wild one blinked, her expression softening just a little. The soft one bowed her head, hiding a tear. He turned and walked away. The cage opened. Behind him, the girls followed. No chains, no orders, just a quiet walk into the unknown. The crowd watched, confused and angry. They didn't understand. Why would anyone pay so much for 2 that no one wanted? A trader leaned over and whispered to another. "He's either a fool, or he sees something we don't." The other nodded slowly. "Or maybe he's dangerous." Back at his ship, the Resolute, Jace opened the door and let them inside. He didn't push them or speak to them like prisoners. He only said, "You're safe now, if you want to be." The soft one looked around the ship like it was a dream. The wild one crossed her arms, still watching him closely. "Who are you?" she finally asked, her voice low and sharp. Jace paused before answering. "Just someone who's looking for something real," the soft one asked. "Do you have a name?" "Jace," he said. "Captain Jace Rowan." She smiled gently. The wild one didn't smile, but she sat down for the first time, like she finally believed she wasn't in danger. In the shadows of space, another ship turned and followed the Resolute, a dark shape, silent and hidden, tracking them from the stars. The hunt had already begun. But inside Jace's ship, a spark had also started, not just of trust but of destiny. Jace sat at the pilot's seat, looking at a small photo. Tucked inside his control panel, a map of the stars and a line written in old Earth script. Project Eden, Life Beyond War. He looked back at the 2 girls and whispered to himself, "I think I just found it." The stars outside the Resolute moved slowly, like cold fire drifting in the void. Inside the ship, silence filled the air, not uncomfortable, but heavy. With things unspoken, Jace sat in his chair, hands on the controls, pretending to check the course. But his thoughts were not on navigation. They were on the two alien girls resting behind him. Ella, the soft one, sat quietly near the corner of the crew lounge, her hands folded on her lap. She stared at the floor, blinking slowly, as if every second she expected to wake up and find herself back in a cage. Rin, the wild one, paced like a trapped animal, eyes watching every shadow, every sound. She didn't trust anything, not the ship, not the silence, and definitely not Jace. He finally turned around, his voice calm and low. "You haven't told me your names yet." Alla looked up first. Her voice was soft but clear. "Alla," she said, like it was the only word she trusted. Rin didn't answer right away, but after a moment, she stopped pacing and said, "Rin," just that, no warmth, no interest. Just the word like a warning. Jace nodded, repeating their names quietly to himself. Alla, Rin, like he was trying to place them in a puzzle he couldn't see yet. "You're not slaves anymore," he said, not as a statement, but as a promise. Neither of them responded. He didn't expect them to believe him, not yet. Later, in the med bay, Alla sat near one of the crew members, a mechanic who had cut his hand fixing the ship's reactor. She touched his skin gently, whispered something in a strange language. A soft light moved from her fingertips and closed the wound like it had never happened. The mechanic stared at his hand, then at her, speechless. Alla looked down again, hiding the glow in her palms. She didn't want to be seen. Not like that. In the training room, Rin was alone, facing a combat drone. Jace had activated it earlier, hoping she might use it to burn some energy. But what he saw on the camera shocked him. She didn't just fight the drone, she destroyed it. Faster than its sensors could react, stronger than any human should be. When the drone exploded, she stood in the middle of the smoke, breathing hard, her eyes glowing faintly red. Then, just like that, she returned to calm. Jace played the footage again, slower, watching her moves. Not random, not wild, calculated, trained. Someone made her like this, but why? He opened an encrypted file in the ship's archive, one that hadn't been touched in over 10 years. It was labeled Project Eden. The screen flickered as old Earth data filled the display records of a secret human project meant to build peacekeepers, not warriors. He scanned through pages of genetic models, language files, ancient blueprints. Then he paused, eyes narrowing. 2 code names flashed on the screen. Subject A9, Healing Core Subject R7. Combat Reactor. The faces were missing, but the power levels were similar to what he had just witnessed. Could it be them? Could Alla and Rin be the last living pieces of a project erased from history? Before he could think more, a soft alert beeped from the ship's radar. A ship had appeared far behind them, small, silent, almost invisible. It didn't send a signal, didn't respond to hails. It was following them, whoever they were. They knew what Jace had found. He closed the file and locked the system. Then he stood and walked back into the lounge where the girls were resting. He looked at them, really looked, not as strange beings, but as pieces of something bigger. "You both have power," he said. "Not just strength, but something more." Alla looked worried. Rin looked ready to fight, but Jace raised his hand. "I'm not here to use you. I just need to know what you are." Alla hesitated, then said quietly, "I don't know. I only remember waking up in a white room with needles and lights." Rin stepped forward, her voice colder. "They trained me to kill, then locked me away when I asked why." Jace breathed slowly. "You're not weapons anymore," he said. "You're more than what they made you." Outside, the shadow ship moved closer, its engines silent, its purpose deadly. Inside, for the first time, Rin and Alla sat side by side. And Jace understood something important. They didn't just need protection. They needed a reason to believe they were more than tools, and maybe, Just maybe, saving them wasn't a mission. Maybe it was redemption. Lights dimmed across the halls of the Resolute. In the silence of space, the ship floated between stars like a shadow in a dream. But dreams can shift quickly, and nightmares often follow closely behind. Captain Jace Rowan didn't sleep much anymore. He sat in the control chamber with tired eyes and fingers tapping on a cracked screen. The radar showed something strange again, blips appearing, then vanishing. A stealth pattern, not random. Someone was tracking them, but they didn't want to be seen. Jace leaned back, exhaled, and whispered, "They're not giving up." In the lower decks, Ayla stood in the engine room, staring at a sick crew member lying on a cot. He had picked up a strange infection during their last stop at the bazaar. The ship's med tech didn't recognize it, but Ayla did. She reached into her own chest pocket and pulled out a shard of crystal. She closed her eyes and placed it gently on the man's forehead. A pale blue light flowed through her hands and into his skin. The infection shimmered, then faded, gone. Like dust in wind. A crewmate watched from the corner, wide-eyed. "How did you?" he tried to ask. But Ayla was already walking away. Rin was in the upper cargo bay, standing in front of a combat dummy. But she wasn't training, she was remembering. Her hands curled into fists, eyes closed tight, her breathing shallow. She saw faces, voices shouting commands, pain, fire, betrayal. Then she struck. The dummy flew across the room, smashed into the wall. Metal sparking from the impact. She opened her eyes, red and glowing again, and saw Jace standing at the door. "You're not sleeping," he said. "Neither are you," she replied, voice sharp but calm. "I saw what you did in the last fight." Jace said slowly, "You didn't lose control. You made a choice." Rin didn't answer, but her shoulders relaxed just a little. Jace stepped closer, holding a small data chip in his hand. "This," he said, "was buried deep in Earth's old records. It connects to something called Project Eden." He looked her in the eyes. "I think you and Ayla were part of it." Rin's head tilted. "You think we're experiments. I think you were created for something more than war," Jace replied. "I think they tried to make life that could protect life." Rin scoffed. "They failed." Jace looked away for a second, then nodded. "Maybe they did. But what if you're more than what they made you?" A sharp alarm rang out through the ship. Jace ran back to the control room, Rin following behind him. Ayla was already there, eyes glowing faintly as she stared at the radar. "They're here," she said, voice steady. "The ship that's been following us." Jace's hands moved across the console, bringing up visuals. A dark ship floated in the distance, small, silent, and armed. Its design wasn't Phyrexian, or human, or any known pirate faction. It was clean, black, surgical. Rin's voice cut through the silence. "That's not a hunter ship. That's a retrieval ship." Ayla whispered, "They're not here to kill us. They're here to take us back." Jace stood slowly, eyes on the screen. "No," he said, "not happening." He turned to the girls. "You have two choices. Run and hide, or fight and be free." Ayla looked down at her hands, light still glowing under her skin. Rin closed her eyes, took a deep breath, then gave a nod. "Let's see what freedom feels like." Jace smiled for the first time in days. "Good," he said, "because they're not coming on this ship without a fight." Behind them, the shadow ship opened its wings, revealing weapons and hooks like claws. The hunt had ended. The capture was about to begin, but the Resolute wasn't running, not tonight. Not with Ayla and Rin ready to face the truth. Not with a human who finally believed in what everyone else had thrown away. The ship powered up, engines glowing. Jace pushed the throttle forward and muttered under his breath, "Let's give them a reason to remember Earth." And then, like lightning in the dark, the Resolute charged straight into the storm. The stars vanished in a flash of red light. Alarms screamed through every hallway of the Resolute outside. The main window, the shadow ship had opened fire. The first blast hit the shields hard, shaking the entire frame of the ship. Rin grabbed onto the side rail, her eyes already glowing. "They're not playing," she growled. Jace was at the controls, his voice calm but fast. "They want you alive, but they don't care what happens to this ship." He looked over his shoulder at Alla. "Can you hold the shields?" Alla stepped forward without hesitation, her hands trembling but her voice steady. "I'll try." She touched the side panel of the console, and suddenly the power levels rose. Blue light pulsed through the circuits like a heartbeat. The shields grew brighter, stronger. The next blast hit, but this time, the Resolute held firm. Jace's eyes widened. That shouldn't be possible. Rin didn't wait. She was already gone, sprinting down the hall toward the weapons bay, her feet barely touched the ground. Her mind locked into battle mode. She entered the room, ripped open a case of plasma rifles, scanned them, then tossed them aside. Too slow, too weak. Then she saw it, a gravity blade, old but powerful. She grabbed it, and it hummed like it knew. Her hand, the enemy ship closed in, latching onto the Resolute like a spider catching its prey. Metal claws pierced the hull. Sparks flew through the corridors. Then the doors blew open. 3 black armored soldiers stormed inside. No words, no warning, just weapons drawn and scanners ready. They moved with machine precision, heading straight for the biosignals, Alla and Rin. But Rin was already there. She dropped from above like a shadow, blade first. The first soldier didn't even scream, just fell. The second turned to shoot, but she was faster. 1 slice. 2 strikes, gone. The third hesitated. Just for a second, a mistake. She kicked him through a wall, hard enough to leave a dent in the ship's interior. Upstairs, Jace worked to keep the ship stable. Another blast rocked the engine room. Warning lights flashed across the screens. He turned to Alla. "I need the reactor to stay below overload. Can you regulate it again?" She nodded, sweat on her forehead. Her hands glowed brighter now, and her voice changed. It was deeper, ancient. She spoke in a forgotten language, and the ship responded. Power balanced, systems cooled. Jace couldn't stop staring. It was like watching Earth tech and alien magic combined into one being. He whispered, "You were never meant to be a servant. You're something else." A scream echoed through the lower hall. Jace turned the camera feed on and saw Rin standing over the broken soldiers, her eyes wild but her breathing calm. She was in control barely, but still. Then the next wave arrived, this time not soldiers. A tall figure in golden armor stepped through the docking gate. No gun, just a long staff and a voice cold as space. "Subject R7. He said, "Return." Rin's face froze. She knew that voice. It belonged to the man who helped design her, the one who called her weapon. "Not person, you," she hissed. "You left us in the dark." The golden figure didn't flinch. "You were property. You were broken. I'm here to retrieve what's left." Rin didn't answer. She just raised her blade and charged. The ship shook again, but this time it wasn't from weapons. It was from Power 2 forces crashing into each other. One built to destroy, the other fighting to feel alive. Jace locked the ship's outer doors, cutting off the enemy's exit. If they wanted war, they were staying for it. Ayla collapsed to one knee, the energy draining her. Jace caught her before she fell. "You need to rest," he said. "No," she whispered. "I can hold it. You'll die. If I stop, we all die." Their eyes met, and for the first time, he truly saw the cost of what she carried inside her. Not just power, pain, purpose, down below. Rin and the Golden Warrior clashed again and again. The ship groaned from the force of their fight. One moment, Rin was on the floor, bleeding. The next, she was back on her feet, refusing to fall. Jace activated the support turrets, turning the ship's defense systems inward. He aimed carefully, locked the golden figure in the crosshairs, and fired. The blast hit the armored man in the back, knocking him forward. Rin took her chance, spinning with her blade and slicing through. The staff he carried, it shattered into light, and he collapsed. She stood over him, chest rising and falling. "This is the last time you call me a subject," she said. "My name is Rin." Back on the bridge, Alla finally let go of the controls. Collapsing in Jace's arms, the lights returned to normal. The enemy ship broke away and drifted back into the void. The fight was over for now. Jace carried Ella to the med bay, Rin walking beside him in silence. He looked at both of them. Then at the stars ahead. "I don't know what you two are," he said, "but the galaxy has no idea what's coming." And deep in the distance, another signal awakened. Not a hunter, not a tracker, something bigger, something older, now that the girls had awakened. The rest of the galaxy was about to follow. The stars outside had stopped moving. The Resolute was docked inside an abandoned human relay station, floating between forgotten routes. It had no lights, no crew, only dust and data, and a silence too deep for comfort. Jace stood alone in the old command room, staring at the flickering blue light of a working terminal. Dust floated through the air like ghosts. He entered the access code he had memorized years ago. Something his old commander once whispered during his final breath. Project Eden. The words blinked on the screen, then unlocked layer by layer. Files from Earth's lost years appeared, strange diagrams, maps of altered DNA, lists of names and vanished scientists. But what made Jace stop breathing was the final line. 2 test subjects survived. He looked over his shoulder, where Alla and Rin stood quietly at the doorway. Neither of them spoke, but both of them knew this place was built for them. Alla stepped into the room first, slowly, as if drawn by memory she never remembered. She placed her hand on the old medical panel, and it lit up beneath her skin. She didn't say anything, but tears slipped from her eyes. Rin followed, eyes sharp, jaw tight. She didn't cry, not yet, but her fists were shaking. Jace pointed to the screen. "This place," he said. "This was a sanctuary, not a lab. They were building peacekeepers, healers, protectors." Rin stared at the wall, where a mural was carved into old alloy. 2 figures, one holding a staff, one holding a flame, standing between stars and warships. Symbols of balance, not destruction. "We were made to fix what the galaxy broke, but they gave us to the ones who wanted war." Jace nodded slowly. "Your creators tried to hide you, freeze you until the galaxy was ready. But someone betrayed them." The screen blinked. Again, a name appeared. Dr. Halvern Sarek. Rin's body stiffened. "That name," she said. "I know that name." Memories flooded back. A man in a white coat, smiling with cold eyes, calling her by numbers, not a name, training her like a weapon, then tossing her aside like a failed tool. She turned and walked away from the terminal, her hands shaking. Alla followed, placing a hand gently on Rin's shoulder. But Rin pulled away. "Don't," she said, voice sharp. "We were just made." Jace stepped forward. "No," he said. "You were created, yes, but not as slaves. You were meant to carry something no machine or soldier ever could. Hope." Alla sat down slowly on the dusty bench near the wall. She looked out through the cracked glass window at the stars. "They taught me to heal even things that couldn't be saved. But I've never saved myself." The room went quiet. Only the hum of the terminal remained. Rin finally turned around, walking back to the console. She stared at the list of files again, and then found something strange. Her name and Ela's, next to a file marked Echo Core. She tapped it. The screen flickered and revealed a message, not text, but a video, recorded by a human woman with gentle eyes and a tired face. "If you're seeing this," the woman said, "then our dream survived. You are not broken. You are not mistakes. You are the last children of Eden." Rin's throat tightened. Alla clutched her own hands. The woman continued, "Protect each other, because the galaxy will try to divide you, but only together. Will you remember who you are?" The screen went dark. Jace looked at both girls, and for once, he didn't speak. He knew they needed space, not words. The truth wasn't easy, but it was finally here. Back on the ship, in the dark corners of space. Something else awakened. A signal, old and locked, now blinking again. Coordinates, a pulse, a forgotten location. Jace loaded the data into the ship's console. The final file read, Sarek protocol active, prepare for retrieval. He looked at the girls one last time. You don't have to run anymore, he said, but we do have to fight. Rin's eyes were still wet, but her voice was steady. Then we start with the man who made us. Alla nodded, softly but surely, and end with the ones who tried to bury us. The Resolute powered up once more, not as a ship carrying broken things, but as a vessel carrying truth, fire, and something more powerful than either, forgiveness, and far beyond the stars. Someone was already waiting. Someone who once called them failures. Someone who had no idea what they had just reawakened. The corridor lights on the Resolute flickered as if the ship itself could feel what was coming. Rin stood alone in the weapons bay, staring at her own reflection in the metal wall. She was bruised, bloodied, and still not sure if the face looking back belonged to her or to the tool they once made her into. Behind her, the airlock doors hissed open. Alla entered, quiet as always, a faint blue glow still pulsing from her fingers like a heartbeat that never stopped. You haven't spoken to him, Elena said gently. Rin didn't answer. He's not like the others, Alla added. He could have sold us, could have left us, but he didn't. Rin finally turned around, her eyes sharp. Maybe he just hasn't decided what we're worth yet. Before Alla could respond, a soft chime echoed from the ship's alert system, a docking request. Coming from a civilian ship, no weapons, no warning. Jace reviewed the signal. It was clean, but something about it made his gut tighten. He approved it with caution, ordering everyone to be on alert. When the doors opened, the man who stepped out was wearing Earth armor. Old style, his face was lined with scars, but his eyes were kind, too kind. Captain Rowan. The man greeted. Name's Corin Vale, ex-fleet. I've been tracking Project Eden for years. I believe we're after the same truth. Jace studied the man carefully. He was calm, polite, even charming, too calm. Corin walked through the ship like he belonged there, complimenting its build, its systems, even the crew. When he saw Alla, he bowed gently. You must be the healer, he said, and you, he added, turning to Rin. You carry the fire. Rin froze. That phrase, those words, only one person had ever said them before. Dr. Sarek. Jace noticed her reaction and reached for his weapon. But it was too late. Rin's mind was already spinning. Corin smiled calmly. I was one of the handlers, he admitted, but I didn't hurt you. I believed in what Eden stood for. I still do. Aleali stepped forward, her voice trembling. You knew what they were doing. You watched. Corin lowered his gaze. I didn't agree with the methods, he said, but the dream creating life to protect life was pure. Rin's breath quickened. He knows everything, she whispered to Alla. He knows about us. That night, she went to Jace. He's lying, she said. I don't know how, but I feel it. Jace nodded slowly. I know. But what they didn't know was that Corin had already accessed the ship's archive. He had already uploaded a virus, silent and hidden, and he had already sent a message to someone far away. Subject R7 located. Subject N9 intact. Prepare for phase return. By morning, Rin was gone. She left a single message on the screen. I don't trust him, and I don't trust you anymore. Alla cried for the first time since the auction. Jace didn't speak. He only stared at the empty space where Rin once stood. They had tried so hard to build trust, and now it was crumbling piece by piece. Hours passed with no signal, no clue, until the Resolute picked up a silent emergency ping. It was Rin's frequency, but distorted, damaged, like she was fighting to send it through interference. Jace powered the engines. We're going after her, he said. She wouldn't run unless she was hunting something. Alla wiped her tears and placed her hand on the console. Energy flowed through it again, but now with more control, more purpose. She wasn't just a healer anymore. She was a guide. They tracked the signal to an asteroid facility hidden in a black zone. No name, no records. Just an old Eden emblem painted on the gate. Inside, everything was quiet. Too quiet. They found Rin in the center room, standing alone, surrounded by broken machines and bodies, her eyes red, not with rage, but with pain. "He used me," she said softly. "Corinne activated something in me. A command. I almost hurt someone." Alla rushed to her, hugging her tightly. "You came back," she whispered. "You fought it." Jace didn't say anything. He just placed his hand on Rin's shoulder. "You're not alone in this," he said. Rin looked at him, her voice shaking. "I don't want to be what they made me." "You're not," he replied. "You're who you choose to be. Behind them." A control panel sparked to life, a message flashing across it. "Phase return complete. Retrieval command online." Corinne's voice echoed from the speakers, no longer calm, no longer kind. "You brought them back to the gate. Now they belong to Eden again." The doors slammed shut, the lights turned red, and the entire asteroid began to move. It wasn't just a lab. It was a ship, a prison. And now, the final phase had begun. The asteroid lab was no longer just a dead rock. It had awakened, metal walls shifted, engines roared to life, and ancient programs blinked open after years of sleep. Inside, alarms screamed in a cold digital voice. "Phase return engaged. Subjects in 9 and R7, preparing for containment." Rin stared at the message as the red lights flashed above her. "They were never trying to protect us," she whispered. "They just wanted to keep us on a leash." Alice stood beside her, her skin glowing brighter with every warning echoing down the halls. "We're not going back in cages," she said softly. But there was steel in her voice. Jace smashed the control panel beside the door, overriding the lock with brute force. "We get off this station," he said, "and we take it down with us." But Corinne's voice returned over the comms calm. "As ever, you're too late," he said. "You brought them home, and now Eden will reclaim what's hers." Then the floor split open, and a new figure rose from beneath the platform. A towering machine, half organic, half code, Eden's final security system. Its head turned slowly, scanning Ayla and Rin like inventory. "Subjects confirmed," it said. "Reset protocol initiated." Rin stepped forward, her blade already humming in her hand. "I'm done being a number," she growled. "You want me? Then come take me." The machine struck first, faster than any normal eye could follow. Rin dodged left, ducked under the metal claw, then leapt into the air, slashing across its armor. The hit landed, but the machine didn't flinch. Jace fired from the side, unloading full plasma bursts into the control core. Sparks flew, but it still advanced. Then Ayla raised both her hands, and the ship began to respond. Light flowed through the walls, through the pipes, through the systems. Her voice echoed in the language of Eden, the code buried deep in her memory. She wasn't just healing now, she was rewriting the station itself. The AI screamed, twisting violently, losing control. Rin took her chance, sprinted toward it. With everything she had, one strike, two more. Then Ayla's energy surged through the floor and pierced the machine like a beam of light. It collapsed, twitching, broken. The lights dimmed and silence returned. Only the sound of their breathing filled the room, then a soft click. A hidden door opened behind the terminal, revealing a long hallway, glowing white and filled with dust. At the far end, a single chair, and in it, Dr. Halvern Sarek, older. Now thinner, but very much alive. He didn't look surprised, only tired. "I wondered when you'd find me," he said. Rin didn't move, but her fingers tightened around the hilt of her blade. "You made us into weapons," she said. "You left us behind." Sarek nodded slowly. "I tried to save the program," he said. "I believed in the mission, but the galaxy wasn't ready for peacekeepers. So they ordered a shutdown, and I followed orders." "You called us subjects," Alice said. "You treated us like property." "You were never meant to suffer," he said. "But I was weak." Jay stepped forward, his voice cold. "And now?" Sarek raised his hands slowly. I stayed to record it all, he said, to make sure the story of Eden wasn't lost. But I have no power here anymore. Rin looked at Alla, then at Jace. She lowered her blade. This isn't revenge, she said. This is ending the past. Ayla stepped forward and placed her hand on the console. The entire station trembled. A countdown began. Self-destruct. Let's go home, she whispered. Jace led the way back. To the Resolute, the girls following close behind. The asteroid behind them cracked as fire burst from its core. No more labs, no more chains, only ashes as they entered the ship. Jace turned to them. You're free now, he said. Whatever. You want to be, that's your choice. Rin gave a rare smile, tired but real. Then I choose to fight for what matters. Aaliyah looked up at the stars and whispered, and I choose to heal what's broken. Jace sat at the controls, looked at the galaxy ahead. It was wide, dangerous, and full of unknowns. But this time, they weren't running. They were moving forward, not as experiments, not as weapons, but as a crew. Together, they left the ruins of Eden behind, and ahead of them, a new legend was about to begin. Because when no one else saw their worth, one human did, and that changed everything.